Hey, good morning. It's Easter, church. Aren't we glad? Aren't we glad? What a wonderful time of worship and music we've had already. This is our third service of the morning. At around 6:45, 7 o'clock, our student ministry did a fantastic job bringing the worship for sunrise. While y'all were still sleeping or getting ready, they were already praising God and did a fantastic job. And our 8 o'clock service was great as well. We're glad that you're here today. And I was thinking about this week, and Pastor Tommy and I talked a little bit about it too. You know, this is another great year that we get to preach Easter, and I've gotten to do that for a number of years, and it's inevitable. I can almost put it on the calendar that I'm going to have a moment this week or this past week where I go, I don't know that I have anything new to say, you know. and I kind of think, man, I don't know if I've got any great stories this year or anything special to share. And then, you know, you begin to listen once more to the powerful news of the resurrection, and it begins to speak to you right where you are. Every time we hear it, it addresses us just where we are. And even if you're here for the first time today, you will be blessed by this message. I know the reality of this day, this Easter Sunday, as many of y'all came perhaps out of habit or trying something new for the first time. And either way, I just assure you that God has a wonderful news for you. And if you're in a spot today where you're just barely hanging on by a thread, then let me give you the wonderful news that it's about to get a lot better for you. So here we are today, and before we dive into the passage, let me just give you just a little brief setup in case you weren't here for Monday, Thursday, or Good Friday. Let me just speak to you and tell you that you know, so much of what we celebrate today actually begins on Saturday evening, after Jesus had been arrested, after he'd been put on trial, after he'd been crucified, after he'd been put into a tomb. He had been beaten and mocked and made fun of. All of his disciples abandoned him. Peter denies him. Judas betrays him. And it is not looking good at all. And the women who show up on the tomb Sunday morning are expecting, of course, a body. They are not going to celebrate. There's no praise music to be found. There's no anything joyful in their hearts or in their lives that day. And they go there to prepare the body of their friend Jesus for his final rest. And their hearts are broken, their hands are weary, and they expect that the stone's going to be right there. And as they're walking up, they're remembering, hey, who's going to roll away the stone? Who's going to move that heavy rock? They didn't think that they could do it. They didn't think it was possible. And then we get to the wonderful passage about Easter. And today we are looking at the story of Easter, the story of the resurrection from the Gospel of Mark. Mark only uses a few words to tell the powerful story, and he does it so well. So here it is. Here's the wonderful news that we celebrate this day. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. They had been saying to one another, who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb? When they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had already been rolled back. And as they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe, sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. But he said to them, do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. Look, there is this place they laid him, but go tell his disciples and Peter that he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you. So they went out and fled from the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them, and they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. So that's the powerful story that we celebrate today. And Like I said, Easter finds us, or the resurrection story may find us at different places here today. It may be that your heart is overjoyed and overflowing with excitement and enthusiasm of the great news of the resurrection. It may be that you are struggling today, that you are having a hard time or facing a difficult time in your life. It may be that you are like those first women who showed up to the tomb expecting nothing out of the ordinary was going to happen. It may be that you're here today thinking, well, what's the point? We've done this before. Why are we doing this again? Because the women that day are not very different from you and I. They had lived life much as we had. They weren't overly superstitious. They weren't people that believe things that you and I don't believe. In their minds, it's very much the same thing that you and I tend to believe. Dead things stay dead. And yet, God had something different for them that day. And we're more like those early disciples, those first people that heard this news than you might realize. The people who want to believe the struggle to hold on to it. They had found this news, they were willing to open up their minds to it that day, and they found something they never expected. We know that feeling, that sense of, can anything good happen, anything hopeful happen in those immovable and difficult moments? But as we read through that story, as we hear this wonderful account of the first Easter, there's a few things that I want to make sure that you leave today with. First is this. When they get there, the stone was already moved. That's amazing news, isn't it? Right? They had made the trip all the way over there and began to wonder, how are we possibly going to get the job done? How are we going to do what we want to do? They've been dreading it. They had been fearful of it. They didn't have any idea how it was going to be dealt with. And yet, it had already been dealt with. And so many times in our lives, we fret and we worry and we agonize over what's going to happen next in our lives. How is anything good going to come out of the next day? Or how is anything good going to come out of a strained relationship or a difficult job or a time in our season in our lives where we're really holding on by a thread? And then all of a sudden, when we get to that moment, that point of decision, that point that we have to act or do, and all of a sudden, it's already been resolved because of what God has prepared for us already. Such an amazing moment for them and amazing moments for us as well. But this year, as I looked at the story, the one sentence that stood out to me, the thing that really jumped out to me was that simple little phrase of, just as he told you. Just as he told you. And I think for me this year, the story really hinges there. Just as he told you. The resurrection was not a surprise to that young man in the tomb or the angel in the tomb. He's not surprised at all. He's looking at him going, we already told you the plan. You go back in the Gospel of Mark and relentlessly Jesus says, here's what's going to happen. Here's how things are going to go down. I'm going to go to Jerusalem. They're going to arrest me. They're going to put me on trial. They're going to crucify and kill me. They're going to bury me. And on the third day, I'm going to be raised. And I know if you and I had friends that called us and told us, hey, this is what I'm doing next week, we would go, hey, I think you need to go find some help, right? And that's what the disciples did to Jesus, of course. They're like, hey, why don't we come up with a different plan? And like I said, Mark uses a brevity of words. He uses very small amount of words. And the fact that he lifts this up a number of times really points toward this is what Jesus told the disciples over and over and over again. And there's a time where he says to Peter, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go to Jerusalem. They're going to kill me. They're going to bury me. And I'm going to be raised on the third day. And Peter says, no, I don't like that. And Jesus rebukes him. This is one of the rare moments where you really get a sense of how angry Jesus could get. And he says, look, I've told you what's going to happen. Get behind me, Satan. Right? And yet here we are in this point in how things went down. And the ladies are looking at him like, we did not expect this to happen. And the angel says, just as he told you. Just as he told you. And when I think about the fact that Jesus told them ahead of time, this is how it's all going to occur, puts him on a whole another level of possibility and power and of like none other. That was part of the plan. Jesus calls the shot and gets it all done. It's amazing. And the most impossible, unimaginable thing that we could possibly think of happens. The tomb is empty, and he says, just as he told you. And I know for a fact, I lift up this to y'all pretty much every year, but Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome, the three women that Mark mentions, it's important to talk about this. However you expect history books to be written or credible accounts to be written, this is how credible accounts were made back in the day when Mark was writing things. The fact that Mark includes the names of these three people is him saying to the reader or the listener, go find these folks, go ask them, go make sure I got the story right, go compare what I tell you with what they have to tell you. He's saying these are eyewitnesses, firsthand accounts of what would happen that day, and it points to the credibility of the scriptures and the rest of the Bible. And if you're here today or you're listening online today and you're thinking to yourself, that's a wonderful thing, I wish it was true, but I just don't think that's how it went down. I would love to hear your version of it. I would love to hear your version of it. Please email me your version of how it went down, because I guarantee that there's not a new idea about how Easter was different than what we find in the scriptures, right? There's, they hid the body, or he wasn't really dead, or whatever you want to put out there. Trust me, you have not invented anything new. And I would love to talk with you about that. I needed somebody to talk with me about that when I was new to the faith. I'll be happy to do that with you as well. So, as we look at this story, the next thing I want to ask you is a simple question of, what does it mean for us? Not Christians in general, not the church as an institution, but for you here today. The resurrection of Jesus means that new life is not just a future promise. We're not here today just to celebrate what's going to happen at the end of our lives or anything like that. We're talking about what it means for us today, what it means for us in this moment in our lives right now. And it may be that you have in your heart and your life a difficult situation. Maybe there's a relationship that you have written off, or a dream that you've given up on, or a version of yourself that you gave up on, or so many things that you have set aside and given up hope on. And life is, at this point, really disappointing to you. You're just kind of drifting through your life, just kind of going through the paces. There's nothing really joyful or exciting about it. You're just kind of playing it safe, hoping everything's going to get better. And I want to speak to you today and say there's a better life right here, right now, that you can put your hands around. One in which you are not faced with whatever dead end you're looking at, whatever sealed tomb of your life that you are facing. There is a whole other possibility right here in front of you that begins with the acceptance and the reality of the resurrection. This promise, this hope of what God can do in our lives right now, in this moment, on this day. But it does require us to respond. The messenger, that boy, that angel that's in the tomb that day, he says to them, he's not here, right? He's not in this tomb. He's gone on to Galilee, right? He's telling them that this is where they can go find Jesus. Now, the women that were there that day, it says that they went home terrified and didn't tell anybody. I probably would have been the same, but a couple days later, I'd be like, I have got to go to Galilee. I have got to go see this. Even if there's just like a small shred that this is real, I'm going, right? I would pack up, take off work, go find out what was happening. And that's what I would want for you today as well. Come and see how the resurrection, of how Jesus can make your life so much better, make your world so much better. Give it a try. See how wonderful life can be with him in your heart, guiding you and leading you. I hope you will, because so much of what we hear in our culture today is just people suffering quietly, just pacing their way through life. They may come to church, they might even think the resurrection happened, but when they go home, all they own is all they have, right? The only dreams they have is just try and get out of life with as much comfort and predictability as possible, just to kind of keep things safe. And Jesus wants more from us than that. Jesus wants us to give our best, talents, our best gifts, our best effort toward being his people in this world, to being his disciples that follow him into Galilee and beyond. That's the calling that's at your feet today, that's right before you. And if you'll trade up some of your comfort, give out of that comfort zone of your life, give up a little bit of what you're used to, a little bit of your routine, he will give you back meaning and purpose and life abundant and life eternal. That's what he can do for you. So today, I hope and pray that you will make that decision today to follow him, to be his disciple, at least to explore the possibility and ask that question of what did in fact happen that day at the empty tomb. Have an answer for that. Right? The invitation is real. He's here. He loves you. He cares for you. We've been praying for you and hoping that you would come to find the joy of the resurrection as we have. And the beauty of this story every year to me is that these are ordinary people that hear great news and they go change the world. Ordinary people with ordinary jobs and ordinary situations, not amazingly educated or wealthy or anything like that, but just ordinary people that hear this amazing news and they go and change the world forever, just as you and I can as well. That same power, that same hope, that same promise is here for us today, to go out and be the people, to be the best evidence of the resurrection, is to walk out of our death and our sins and find new life in him. The tomb is empty. He is risen, just as he told you. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.